Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today, for Talk About It Tuesday, I thought we would spend some time talking about vintage tools and equipment that we have and we're looking for here in the shop. Plus, I'm going to do a little bit of playing around with the lathe and we'll talk about that as well. So it's a little different. Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
It's a rainy Friday night and I'm home alone, and I thought, let's do something a little bit different. So we have only shown you the lathe when we brought it home and unloaded it and set it up here in the shop. And I thought, it might be just a little bit fun to just set something up here and do a little work with it and talk about it. Um, this lathe is from about 1950. It's a Powercraft 15 TLC 2130. I forget the company that made it. We did talk a little bit about that in the episode when we brought it home. But I really didn't show you how it works. And my good buddy Chris also, that's tight. I'm going to move that out just a little bit close to my chuck there. I'm not comfortable with that. Don't want to crash it. So anyway, my buddy Chris, he was into all things mechanical and machining and so forth. Saw some of the stuff that I had with it, and he said, "You need some indexing cutters." Lo and behold, a couple days later, this wonderful little kit showed up with all these different indexing cutters, and there's rights and lefts, and I don't know what all, but I do know how to use most of it, so it's not unknown to me. Better pay attention so I don't turn the lathe on with the thing in there. All right, so I think we're pretty good. We're a little bit wobbly, so I'm going to straighten that out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got it tightened up a little bit now and straightened out. So not as wobbly. For what we're doing, this is fine. I'm not trying to do anything perfect. So indexing cutters, like so, and it indexes, and you can change the cutter 3 times and so forth. And there's I have different heads as well. I've already had this one set up because I was playing with it earlier. So we're going to bring this in here, make sure that we're clear. I want to make sure that my direction is right on my feed so that it doesn't feed into the head, and then this catches that and breaks and crashes and ruins everything. So we're just going to bring this in a little bit. Okay, that should work. Put our auto feed going, make some curls. This bolt is a little bit hard to get in there straight because of the threads. It's just a rusty old bolt. There we go. I always prefer to shut my lathe off when I'm bringing it back in, just to be safe. I love vintage tools, and if you've not been around the shop, I'll show you a couple of the other ones here in just a minute. I'm looking for a vintage Bishman tire changer. It's a tire changer that's not much bigger than half of this lathe. Simple, doesn't take up a lot of floor space, from 1950 or 1960 in that ballpark. I'll find one eventually. I don't have a lot of money right now anyway, so but it's one of those things where you got to start looking, and then when the deal comes along. The reason I like doing these old vintage tools is no, this thing is not going to machine within 3 microns. That's not its intent. But I can bang out bushings and shafts. If we got to rebuild a water pump for the Oakland and the shaft has got a big groove in it, I can TIG weld that up, put it in this, and turn it down, and we can make a really respectable shaft that's going to hold a seal. So, for old cars, particularly the antique stuff, but even things that I'll be making and using on some of the newer stuff, like the 70 Challenger or the 73 Scoops or the 74 Swinger, even the 88 pickup, there may be some things that we could just bang out here on the lathe rather than having to go out and purchase. So if you remember right, a while back, we picked up this vintage valve grinder. We went ahead and made an oil capture tray for it and put an oil pan underneath it, all that stuff. This is vintage 1970. We also have down here 2 valve seat grinding sets that came with it. All told, I think I paid $400 for all of this. It wasn't a lot of money, and it's something that's really within the reach of most home garage people if they want to do this kind of work. I've got a 340 sitting right here covered with junk that we got to do a set of heads on. We've also got the 413 here that we're going to punch out to a 426. That needs heads done. I have the equipment to do those as well. And at the price of what it costs to get a set of heads done, unless I have to have guides done, I'll probably take that and get those done and do the rest of the head myself. It's a huge savings. It's more than just those 2 sets of heads are more than going to pay for the equipment that I purchased, which is why I did, because I know I have 3 or 4 other engines down the road that I'm going to be doing as well. And if somebody brought me a set of heads and said, "Hey, can you bang up the valves in this and do the seats for me real quick?" Hey, I can do it. I can do it at a really reasonable rate and save them a bunch of money and make me some money. Another piece of equipment that we have here is our Baylift hoist. This one happens to be a home. I think it's a Homestead brand. Yes, it is. From the 1940s or 1950s. We use it around the shop. I'm not going to bother airing it up, but it's a lift. It does this kind of thing, and it's an axle lift. Um, I think I gave $75 for it. It wasn't much, maybe a little more than that. I was looking for one because I had one before. This one's a little bit small for picking up pickups, but for cars and stuff like that, it's just perfect. I need to do a little safety work. The grooves up there aren't quite as big as I'm comfortable with, but it does the job. Years and years and years ago, I used to do all of this stuff professionally. I was a professional mechanic. I was trained in how to do valves and engines and tires. And I worked in engineering and used lathes and mills. And so I'm just buying equipment that I already know how to use. But none of this stuff is rocket science. And, anybody can learn how to use it if you're careful. And of course, we have YouTube. And also, you probably know some people who can teach you. My goal here, again, is to just have some basic tools and equipment that anybody could acquire for themselves if they have the space and a little bit of cash money. A couple grand is all I'm going to have into everything when I'm all said and done. And the versatility and the abilities that I will have here in the shop will be just tremendous. And it doesn't have to break the bank, and it can make you a little bit of money here and there. Part of the fun of this is just seeing exactly what I can do with what I have. I don't have a left-handed holder for my 1/4 inch bits. So I just dug around and found a tool that's going to work. And I'm just facing this off the best I can. It's a duller than a dull thing, but it should work. Just kind of getting my chops back with some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's by no means a precision machine part. But, I need to get, I have 2 right-hand bends like this, and I have a straight, but I don't have one that curves the other way to be able to use my carbide to do a facing tool. So I'll have to look for one of those somewhere. No big deal. But just that's part of what I'm doing right now is just digging through the tooling that I have. But it looks all right. I mean, it's just an old rusty bolt that I just machined the head off of, and you know, it's plus or minus, 1/16 of an inch probably. So here's the question. I always present you with homework on a Talk About It Tuesday. So you tell me, well, first of all, one other piece of equipment I would like to get is a vintage mill. It doesn't have to be a Bridgeport brand, something inexpensive that'll do plus or minus a 32nd of an inch of tolerance is fine with me. Better would be good because then I could surface some of my own heads and so forth. But again, we're looking for just average stuff an average guy could use in his average shop at home. Okay, maybe this is a little above average, but not much because I'm not spending much money. I mean, if you really think about it, what I paid for this, some people spend more on a weekend going out for drinks, a movie, and dinner. So, same thing with the other equipment. It's all a matter of priorities. My question to you is other than mill, a lathe, I do have a drill press coming. I just don't have it here yet. We had a channel viewer donate that to the channel. That's awesome. I just need to go get it, or he's going to bring it here next time he comes. Um, we have the sheet metal brake. We have all the other equipment that we have. But what other piece of equipment would you think would be great for setting up a vintage shop with vintage equipment like I'm doing here? So drop it down there in the comments. I'm curious to see. Remember, we're trying to keep it inexpensive, so we're not looking to spend thousands of dollars. We're looking to spend a few $100. That's it. Um, Tire machine, like I said, I'm looking for one of those right now. And down the road a ways, I would like to find a mill. Can't think of anything else off the top of my head. There may be, but that's the whole point of Talk About It, is just to present the mentalities and have conversations about different hot topics. And today I thought, yeah, it would be pretty cool to just talk about some of the vintage tools and equipment and just show you me playing around with the lathe just a little bit. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Dake Arbor press that was also donated by my buddy John. So we have an old vintage mechanical press that you've seen us use on the Oakland episodes as well. That's going to do it for this Talk About It Tuesday. Something a little different. I thought it'd be fun. Look forward to hearing from you guys as always, and don't forget, raw.